Simon Magus finale. By the end of the day, the wind had erased all trace of bare feet and sandals from the shifting sands. 3 days later, it was Friday, they dug up the coffin. Many more people gathered for the disinterment than had for the interment. News of the magus, fakir, conjurer had spread far and wide, as judges to whom everyone gave priority: Sophia, Peter, and his disciples stood closest to the pit. First, they were hit by a horrible infernal stench. Then, just beneath the dirt, they saw the dark boards, which looked almost rusted, of the coffin. The workers knocked out the studs and raised the lid. The face of Simon Magus was a mass of leprous corruption, and his eye sockets had worms peering out of them. Only his yellowish teeth remained intact, grinding as if he were convulsed or laughing. Sophia covered her eyes with her hands and screamed. Then she turned slowly toward Peter and said in a voice that made him tremble, "This, too, is proof of his teaching. Man's life is decay and perdition, and the world is in the hands of tyrants. Cursed be the greatest of all tyrants." The people made way for her as she passed through their silent ranks and headed for the desert, lamenting. Her mortal body returned to the brothel, while her spirit moved onto a new illusion. The end of Simon Magus. Well, I will later work on a comment about this short story. Perfectly written, but very, very mistaken in regard of the Torah and even in regard of the Bible, and mostly in regard of the Creator. But this is an example where we can see that the deceiver deceives us. And historically, maybe traditionally, we digest, or we don't even digest, these concepts about the cruelty of a God. But a God that is cruel is not the creator of everything, is not the God of gods. This must be explained in a very detailed way, or maybe with the right information and structure, so I'm not going to do it now. And also, it's needed and a very important ingredient: faith. In one of Susan Sontag's books that we are studying in Against Interpretation, she already gave us the answer. Why we think like that? Why Danilo Keys composed a story where probably the majority of the ones that read it or read it will keep the idea that there's an an awful God, a cruel God, a God that despises his creatures. That God is not the real God. And we have the answer. It is, in fact, in Against Interpretation, Susan Sontag, in the first chapter. It's written by Susan Sontag. The fact is, all Western consciousness of an reflection of, the fact is, all Western consciousness, of and reflection upon art have remained within the confines staked out by the Greek theory of art as mimesis of representation, as mimesis or representation. The answer is the Western civilization, the Western consciousness of and reflection upon art have remained within the confines staked out by the Greek theory. The Greek culture is the opposite of the Torah. Let's call it, because in the Torah we cannot call it a theory, but the Greek theories are opposed to the Torah truth. The Greek concepts, the Western way of thinking is a Greek way of thinking, and a Greek way of thinking is a deceived one. Let's call it an illusion way of thinking. Whilst the Torah is the reality thinking, the truth, the emet, if you wish, in Hebrew. Very, very interesting.